Welcome back to another amazing episode of LaQuita's Toolbox Live. I am your host, LaQuita Monley, and it is an amazing Thursday evening, guys. And I'm just super glad to be here. I'm going to take a moment, you guys, just to let you know that please hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons, and let's get this conversation out to as many people as possible. If this is your first time with us on LaQuita's Toolbox Live, welcome. We are happy to have you. For our returning guests, thank you so much for your continued support. We could not do this without you. So thank you so much again. And you guys know the drill. Get something to write with and something to write on, because you don't want to miss this amazing conversation with Miss Ramona Galey. Miss Ramona is an absolutely fantastic speaker and coach, and she shared some great tools with us. If you are getting our toolbox, LaQuita's Toolbox on audio, you've heard some of her content there. And if you haven't, go ahead out to your favorite audio listening platform and click that follow button so that you can receive new episodes of LaQuita's Toolbox when they come live. And if you are already subscribed, let's sit down and relax and enjoy today's message, because we're going to have a great conversation about the power of purpose and authenticity. And you don't want to miss tonight's show. So, you guys stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this short commercial break. Hello. How are you, Miss Ramona? How are you?
Hi, LaQuita. I am doing quite well, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is definitely my pleasure. Thank you so much for being a guest on LaQuita's Toolbox Live on this evening. Excuse me. We've enjoyed several great conversations on a number of different things, but I have to admit my favorite uh, times that we've spent together has been in our conversations about purpose and understanding your purpose and what you've been designed and created to do. And with those conversations, it oftentimes led into us talking about the power of authenticity. And before we get into that, because I really do want us to dive into that, I thought I'd start out by reading um, one definition of the word authenticity. Um, and when I looked it up online, I went to the handy dandy Google, and Google says authenticity is the quality of being genuine or real. Um, you might question the authenticity of your eccentric uncle's photo or of a UFO, especially in doing these times of AI generated stuff. But authenticity really is the word authenticity is the state of something being authentic, legitimate, and true. And I remember when I read that, it took me back to a thought that I had when the term authenticity became popular. Um, During the 2019, like 2018, 19, 2020 time frame. Oh, being authentic, being your authentic self was really like popular, and it's still popular to say today. And I remember my thought the first time I heard that was, well, how can you be fake? How can you be something other than who you are? That seems like a lot of trouble and a lot of work. And so let me start there. When you are having conversations with people, and especially your clients, and they're and authenticity is something that you're working on, how is it that a person doesn't realize that they're not being their authentic selves?
Well, for me, there's a difference between authenticity and honesty. And that
Mhm.
really great definition that you just read almost more like honesty. And so I just take this word authenticity just a pinch further.
Okay,
And
go ahead.
I equate it to the ability, the comfort of being seen for exactly who you are. So in other words, you can
One
be
more time,
yourself. What's
because I
that?
like that. Say your definition of authenticity one more time. 'Cause I like
It's
that.
the
It's real
ability and the comfort of being seen for who you really
mm,
are.
yeah.
So I've always been very honest. Some people would say direct, too direct, maybe even. I've always been very, very honest. Wouldn't steal anything, wouldn't lie about anything, but I was not being authentic because I was
Ooh,
very uncomfortable being seen, being looked at,
mm,
being probed in terms of understanding who exactly I really am, what I really think about things, what my opinions are, what my real feelings are. I would find
mhm,
myself looking down a lot, not meeting people's gaze for fear that they would read who I was. And all of this boils down to I thought there was something wrong with me, and I didn't
okay.
want other people to know that. So for
Mm,
me, authenticity is that comfort of being able to stand. I mean, if you're a leader of any sort, you're a coach, you're a public speaker, a teacher, a healer, you've got to stand, or even just a podcaster, right? You got to be able
right.
to be on camera or stand in front of somebody, whether it's one somebody's or a million somebody's, and
Mhm.
have them look right at you and feel comfortable with that. So that
Yeah,
to me is authenticity. And I
I love
love teaching authenticity. I love helping people become more and more authentic in their lives.
I love that. Um, the way you broke that down, with the differences between honesty and authenticity. You could be an extremely honest person, but and please jump in and correct me at any time, but when I heard your definition, the thing that resonated with me is, um, a person who struggles with authenticity, they may not necessarily struggle with honesty in terms of it's okay, they're comfortable and in their comfort zone with being honest with other people, but they're not completely comfortable with being honest with who they are. And they so
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
yes. So
Yeah.
dig into
Yeah.
that a little bit if you could.
Well, let's say you come from a background of trauma
Mhm,
or a background of abuse or a background of shame. Any of these lower vibrations can cause us to not have faith in ourselves, to possibly
mhm,
not have faith in anybody or anything, right?
mhm,
So in an atmosphere, in a vibration of low faith or no faith, it
mhm,
is very, very difficult. In fact, I'll say it's impossible to be truly authentic because
mm,
once you have faith in yourself, then it's a
mhm.
lot easier to discern and create and receive faith in others and
Okay,
faith in something greater than all of us. And
okay.
so, the use of the word faith, of course, can be controversial, or it can people can think I'm talking about religion. Of course, I'm not talking about a specific
Mhm,
religion. I'm talking about the knowing that all is well, the knowing that I am well, that I am
mm,
worthy, that I am a God's child, however you want to phrase that. Some people call it,
mhm,
Mother Earth or Father Sky or Allah or whatever you call it. That thing that's greater than all of us, that's greater than any one of us especially, that is good and love and pure. And when you have faith in that, then it's easier to have faith in yourself and to really look at yourself. And I don't mean like go digging for mistakes or errors. I'm saying
mhm,
just look at yourself in the mirror. If you can look
mhm,
yourself right in the mirror and say, I love you, you're good,
mm.
you
Yeah.
belong here, you deserve to be here,
Mhm,
that is the kind of the cornerstone of authenticity. And I love how it expresses itself in business. For example, can you get
mhm,
on a sales call and actually listen to your prospects pain points, as they call them in
mm,
marketing, and actually
mhm,
be present to them? Or are you following a script that says, okay, now my voice goes up, now my voice goes down? In other words, a lot
mm,
of us are kind of imitating authenticity. But when we are truly authentic, we don't need a script anymore. We can speak from the heart because we have
from the heart.
faith in what our heart is thinking and feeling and expressing.
Right.
So that to me is authenticity, the ability to be present right here, right now, to be seen for who we are and revel in it and succeed with it.
That's real good. That's real good. And and so in that, it really takes me honestly, it takes me back to purpose and identity. So
Mm,
if my ability to show up as my authentic self, and I'm struggling with that because I'm struggling with being honest with myself about my own greatness, then
mm.
what I hear you saying is we have to go a little further and discuss the root causes of that. Why am I struggling with my own greatness? So that means I may also be struggling with understanding who I am and the as well as the thing that with who I am, I'm struggling with who the thing that God has created me to do because that when turns equals I can't be authentic with myself because I don't feel like I'm worthy, I'm valuable, or I'm good enough. Is that what I hear you saying?
Exactly. Yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna feel like a fraud when we feel the calling, and I personally believe we're all called to be great. We are
Absolutely.
all already great, and we feel that calling and we don't
Mhm,
feel like we can be great, that we're going
mhm,
to feel like a fraud. No matter
mm,
what we do about it, this is not an
mhm,
action thing. This is an
mhm,
internal vibration thing. So let's say we step up to the plate and we decide we're going to start a business that helps people, or we step
mm,
up to the plate, we become a public speaker, or we step up to
mhm,
the plate and we start a podcast, or we step up to the plate and whatever that is, become a teacher. If we don't really know how great we are inside, how beautiful and pure love, how divine we are inside, we are
mhm,
going to feel like a fraud. And we have now set ourselves up for a lot of stress,
mm,
overwhelm, burnout,
mm,
fear,
mm,
imposter complex,
mhm,
procrastination, self sabotage, you name it, it's coming
mhm. It's
because
coming.
we're going to feel like a fraud.
Mm, that's good. And it's so very true. It's so very true. I want to just take a moment here to thank everyone who's joining us. Across the various social media channels as well as on Daily Faith Network and as well as on the Purpose Place Network. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. We appreciate you and want you to know that we want you to be a part of this conversation. So please don't hesitate. Get in the comment section, share your thoughts with us. Let us know what you're thinking, what questions you might have, and we're happy to address them here on the live. And if you happen to be watching this on the replay, still feel free to do the same. We do follow these comments throughout the course of the week and we're happy to respond to them and to give you a greater bit of clarity. Or if you have some valuable insight that you know will add value to this conversation, we want to know that as well. So please don't hesitate to get in the comments. And of course, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons so that we could get this conversation out to as many people as possible. And on today's conversation, if you're just joining us, myself and Miss Ramona Galey, we're talking about the power of authenticity, why it's so important, and why we struggle with it sometimes. Why can certain individuals struggle with being their most authentic selves? And so, Miss Ramona has given us some really great insights into that. So, if you missed those first few minutes of this conversation, it's a podcast, y'all. Just hit that rewind button, go back, re-listen to it, and get those blanks filled in. But so, with Miss Ramona, so like you have given us, I like for my guests to give me three tools, and I think you gave me three tools in the first 2 minutes. I stopped counting the tools, but you've given me some great tools, some things that we can easily implement. You've talked about the importance of how identity and purpose come together to help us have the boldness
Yes.
that we need to be authentic. And you shared with us some things that can cause an individual not to be authentic. They can be honest. And I really love that. Like a person can be 1,000% honest, but yet not authentic. And so I really love the way you broke that down and some of the things that will cause them to not be their most authentic self. So if those things like past traumas and not really understanding who they are and what they're created to do, if those are some of the things that can lead to a person struggling with authenticity, what are some of the things that you do that can help a person come out of that, like where to help them begin to recognize their strength, their power, and so that they can show up as their most authentic selves?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, one of the very first things and one of the most common things that we come back to over and over and over again is a couple of deep breaths. that bring us right back into the body. When we can feel our breathing, we can feel our body, we start to feel into our heart. Now we're present and in the moment. And this is where everything is. This is where we actually are. We're not in the past, we're not in the future. And so anytime I find myself thinking, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I really regret this, or if only, or even about somebody else, he should have, she shouldn't have, he shouldn't have. Anytime you're worried about the future, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? You're not actually in the present. And so you
Mm,
take a couple of couple of deep breaths, come right back, put your focus right in your body. Now you're in the present. Now you can actually feel your real self because all of that other brain work that's coming from the past and the future, I'm this, I'm that. My second grade teacher told me I was bad. My mom got mad at me for that time. All the different things that, the commercials tell us all the time. We should be skinny, we should be tall, we should be thin, we should be whatever. Like any of those thoughts, they're not real. And they're going to keep us from being able to be authentic if we listen to them. So
mhm,
getting into the present moment, which takes some practice, sometimes it takes even a little bit of training, but we know how to do this because we've done it before. We were like this when we were born and up to a certain age. And that age is different for all of us. Depends on what kind of a situation we're born into and how we responded to it. But we know, so it's a remembering. I don't ever
mhm,
really consider myself to be a teacher. I call myself a mentor because I role model and I give feedback. But we remember. And so I'm just helping folks remember who they really are and to know that who they really are is good. It's
yeah,
good beyond compare, just perfect, just pure love. And when you get there,
mhm.
authenticity is a walk in the park, as they say.
Wow, wow, it's helping them to remember who they are. I love that, I love that. Listen, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that because that just gave me goosebumps, because we are who we are from our conception. Unapologetically, we are who we are from our
Yes.
conception, and it really is a matter of us, coming to an agreement with that, not struggling with it, not fighting against it, and as you said, overcoming some barriers to accept I am wonderful. I am
Yes.
great. I am powerful. I can do whatever it is I've set my mind to do. So let's talk about that a little bit more after we return from this quick commercial break. Career and mindset to the next level? Then it's time to join the conversation on LaQuita's Toolbox. Whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, or someone just looking to level up, this show is packed with powerful insights and real strategies to help you succeed. Imagine yourself here, sharing your story, your expertise, and making a real impact with an audience ready to grow and thrive. With LaQuita's Toolbox, you'll be inspired, empowered, and part of an incredible community that's all about winning. This is your moment. Don't miss the opportunity to be a guest on LaQuita's Toolbox. Unlock new doors, connect with like-minded professionals, and elevate your brand to new heights. Ready to make your mark? Head over to www.laquitamonley.com, LaQuita's Toolbox, and sign up to be a guest today. Awesome. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, LaQuita Monley, and we are here today with the wonderful Miss Ramona Galey on this episode of LaQuita's Toolbox Live. We've been enjoying a great conversation talking about the power of authenticity. And so if you have just joined us, listen, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. Get this conversation out to as many people as possible. And go back, hit that rewind button, start from the very beginning and to get the tools and the gems that she's dropped so far because you don't want to miss them. You definitely do not want to miss them. And if you are able to, sit down, relax, get something to write with and something to write on because I promise you the rest of the conversation will be just as powerful as the first half of the conversation. So, and so Miss Ramona, when we left pause from the break, you were talking to us again, we were talking about authenticity. And so I before the break, you had mentioned how because most of us watching here are either an entrepreneur of some sort, whether you have a side hustle or you're a full-time entrepreneur. sales calls are vitally important. Getting leads
Mm.
and closing deals, that's the heart of an entrepreneur, because if you don't do that, how can we make money, right? And you mentioned, authenticity playing a big role in our ability to be able to close that deal or to speak from our heart. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. And I would say it even starts before that. It starts with our marketing message. I mean, if we're a
Mm,
salesperson working for somebody else, then we may not have any control over the message of the marketing. But if we're
mm,
entrepreneurs, we have total control. We may think we don't because we've been told by a bunch of marketing experts that we have to say it this way or we have to fib a little bit or bend it a little bit or spin it as they call it. But so as we start from the very beginning, speaking from our heart who we truly are, it's a very
mhm,
powerful message,
mhm,
and that's how we attract the right people to us.
mhm,
And then when they walk into our environment and we have a conversation to see whether it's something that we want to work together with them,
mhm,
when we are coming from our heart, we no longer need a sales call script. We no
mhm,
longer need to overcome objections. We no longer need all of the pretend stuff that mainstream marketing teaches, really. And
mm.
sales they teach this. Make your voice go up here or make your voice go down here so you'll sound like you have authority. When you have authenticity, that's your authority. Your heart is your authority. And when you have authenticity, you know what your purpose is. And when people can feel what your purpose is, it doesn't have to be their purpose. They can have a different purpose, or they may not even know what their purpose is. But when they know that you feel and know and embody your own purpose in authenticity, then they can feel comfortable with you. They can feel safe with you. They can feel protected and held by you. And to know that whatever your service that you're providing is going to be good for them. And they can just decide whether, do I have the money right now or whatever, but they can
Mhm.
be drawn to you from a heart to heart basis that they may not even be completely aware of, but you are. And that's the whole point. There's the power right there. You know your own heart and you love it and you know it loves you. It's a big love fest going on. There's no need to hide. There's no need to manipulate. There's no need to bend the truth or any of those things. You just be you, basically. That's what a sales call looks like when you're completely authentic. You just be you.
I love that. Like, you've taken a whole lot of the mystery and the magic and the panic out of sales. I know, myself included,
Exactly.
yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs, first thing is I don't wanna sell anybody. I want people to be authentically attracted to me as my ideal
Yeah.
client, when actually we all are salespeople. But what I hear you saying is our authenticity is the major, or the most important ingredient in this recipe, if we can call it that. If my marketing has
Absolutely.
been effective, because it's been effective because the pitches were written from my heart. Like, my heart is to serve the ideal client. And because
Mhm.
my heart is to serve that, in all of my marketing material, that's how that has been written. So those that are attracted to that marketing material, that come into my client funnel, that end up on a sales call with me, they won't get a completely different individual. They're going to get the individual that they were attracted to from that marketing. And so in that conversation, it's either they're ready to do business now and they're gonna close the sale now, or they're ready to do business, but maybe I have to put them in another box because finances or timing or whatever is off. But what I hear you saying is that takes all of the pressure off of the call, because now I'm enjoying this conversation with my ideal
Exactly.
client. They're enjoying a conversation with me.
Yes. And they're gonna want more. That's what the bottom
Mm,
line is. They're gonna want more. Because how many of us have this level of authenticity in our lives? Not very many
mm,
of us. When
mm,
you're authentic, you offer a gift that is invaluable. It's priceless. It's not available very many places. It's very rare. And this is
mm.
what matching vibrations is all about is I want what you've got. It's like that movie, remember? I want what she's having. You remember that scene in that movie? Like, I want what she's having. I want how she's feeling. I wanna feel like that. And if this
Mm,
product or service or this, process that's, under consideration is gonna help
mhm,
me with that, then that's what I want. It becomes a no-brainer for the people who are ready, and you don't want the people
mm,
who aren't ready. You don't want them in yet. They may come back later when they are ready, but you want your clients to be ready. Then you've
be
got an
ready.
aligned business from start to finish. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Wow. Listen, y'all, if you so she Miss Ramona has just helped remove 1,000 pounds of pressure from your chest about the sales and marketing.
Mm.
If you're thinking, like, well, how did she do that, Laquita? Hit the rewind button, go back. Authenticity in the entire business process is will help to relieve the anxiety and the burden that we can some oftentimes feel as an entrepreneur. So listen to that advice because it made me feel good. It lifted 1,000 pounds of pressure off me. Let me say that. It took 1,000 pounds off me, so I know it's got to take 1,000 pounds off of somebody. so, so we see authenticity showing up in our personal life. I see how it helps us grow personally. And
Sure.
you're showing us how the beauty of authenticity, even in the business process, in the sales system, from lead generation to closing a sale, how authenticity has shown up. How what is another way that you've seen in your experience where the power of authenticity is important?
Well, let's take negotiations. Some people
Mm,
see negotiations as some sort of a battle, a war, a conflict, and then
mhm,
other people say that a negotiation is a win-win. That's the best negotiation that could happen is when everybody walks away from winning. So there's this
okay.
dichotomy of approach about the whole thing about whether it's a lose-lose or a win-win. When you're
Mhm,
authentic, you can
mhm.
genuinely connect with the other person. It's so much easier to find the win for everyone when you're authentically being who you are. You know that saying, mostly in our personal lives, there's a saying, you teach people how to treat you. Right? You
Yes.
walk into a room and you show by your body language, by your eye contact, by your facial expressions, by the tone of your voice, by even things that we can't even really quantify or describe, you teach people how to treat you. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. That's a level of personal authenticity. So,
Mm,
when you enter a negotiation or a public speaking gig as they call it, and you're authentic, then you don't have to pre-plan any of it. There's no
mm.
analyzing, there's no strategizing. You go and be you. And I'm not saying you don't have talking points arranged ahead of time. I'm saying we use in our society we use some sort of it's kind of like a false authenticity that we teach, like stand here, do this gesture, make sure you're standing, with your legs spread apart, don't cross your arms. Like there's this whole big long list of things to do to emulate authenticity. But when
Mm,
you're authentic from the inside out, you don't have to remember all that stuff. You don't have to practice all that stuff because you already are it. And I guess that's
yeah.
to me what I'm saying is in business, especially because
Mhm,
we have this purpose, we have this calling, we have this drive, and we know that we can be great, we know we have something to offer to the world. And
mhm,
if we feel like there's like I frequently will use this idea that there's this thing over there and I don't want to look at it, I'm going to put blinders on, and it's over
mm,
there. Ooh, I don't want to look at that. I'm going to just look straight ahead. I don't want to look at that. And what that thing is that I don't want to look at is me. It's
mm,
the inside me that I'm
mm,
afraid to look, and that's gonna it's gonna limit everything we do in business especially, but also in our personal lives. Absolutely. I mean, my clients' relationships just blossom when they start doing this work, even though they're focusing on, public speaking or making be able to make a video or, they're frequently working on business things, but once you relax and start
mhm,
feeling like I'm okay, then everyone around you can start to relax too because now they know how to treat you. Now you're actually teaching them how to treat you. It goes back to
mm,
that saying. we teach people how to treat us.
Oh, that's
And so,
yeah.
and if they're not treating us well, then, that will separate. In other words, we're not gonna tolerate abuse or, you know, like working for the same job all the time where we're not happy or whatever it is. We're not gonna stay in a business that's not satisfying, that doesn't take us to our purpose. It all
Mhm.
ties together. For me, authenticity is the very bare bones, basic bottom foundation of it, the whole thing. It's where everything rests.
So, if authenticity is the foundation, then what would be the next level?
Expression. Once
Mm.
you know who you really are, you
Mhm,
can't
mhm.
stop from expressing it. It has to come out.
It has to come
It
out.
has to come out. It has
Yeah,
to. That and
yeah.
you might call that purpose. Some people
Mhm,
might just call it desire.
mhm,
When we have authenticity, we're no longer afraid of our desires. We no longer think our desires are inappropriate. We understand that our desires are divine. So when I'm
mm,
feeling called, wow, I really want to do this, whatever this is, it doesn't even matter what it is. When I really want to do this thing, and
mhm,
then I go and do this thing, and then I see all the good that comes from it because it was
mhm,
divinely led. It
mm,
takes some discernment. Okay, we live in a society where we're being taught, go eat at McDonald's, eat this donut, drink a Coke, all these different things that they
mhm.
tell us that we should want, or that we actually, in an addicted way, kind of do crave. I'm talking
Right.
about desires are way below that, like way underneath that, way
Mhm.
truer than all of that, right?
To
So
your
it takes
point, yeah.
some discernment to figure out what do I actually want? What do I really want? Once
Mhm.
I know that and I've got that like spinning out into the universe, that desire, that's the next step. Expression,
So
creativity, becoming,
mm,
growth. That's what that's what we've come for. We've come for the action, for the growth, for the expansion, to uplift others and to be present while, in order to do it. That it's like that's the next step is the expression of who
is
we
the
are.
expression. So
Yeah.
so the foundation is our ability to be authentic. That's the
Yes.
foundation, and then that next level is the way we express our
Right.
authentic self, the way
And
we
that comes naturally. We
and it
don't have
comes
to
now.
plan it. Yeah,
Okay, okay, that sounds good,
yeah.
and so I'm we've laid the foundation. I am totally okay with every bit of wonderful that I am. It's just
Mhm.
oozing out of my pores from my very essence. Now,
Yeah,
my expression of that is next. So then what would
yeah.
be the next thing?
Well, abundance.
I love
Abundance
that.
is
Yeah,
the natural outgrowth of all of that. Huge abundance for us and everyone around us, and I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about
right,
true abundance, right?
true abundance.
Resources, love, connection, all the things that we really want. The things that we think money will buy us. And money does
Mhm,
buy a lot of it, fun and adventure. And certainly money is a part of it, but abundance,
mhm,
of love in the relationships, abundance of connection with our loved ones, abundance of time to spend with our families.
mhm.
Just raw, rampant abundance is the natural
Abundance.
outgrowth of all that. Yeah, absolutely.
And so we've got a great foundation of authenticity. We have no problem expressing ourselves. We're living in abundance. Where does freedom come in? Or all of that to me sounds like freedom. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
All of that
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
like
I totally agree. That freedom is the basis of everything, but,
mm,
if we're not free, how can we be authentic? If we're not
exactly.
free, how can we express anything? If we're not free,
Right.
how can we be abundant? Yeah, all of that
Mm,
assumes and I believe we are all free, whether we know it or not.
mm,
We're all free,
we're
absolutely
free.
free from start to finish.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more. I could not agree more. Listen, you've been giving us some great, great gems. And now I before we continue in the conversation, please take this time to let everyone know how to contact you and if you have any it's we get into the holiday season, so everybody got some kind of sale going on, a Black Friday, a holiday November, or Christmas sale, or January sale. How can those that are watching the live or the replay, how can they reach out to you, and what do you have that's coming up that you definitely want people to connect with you on?
Well, I have a new program starting in January that is a larger group than the one I run right now. The Alignment Circle is a very small, very special group. It's only 12 people, and
Mhm.
we have two openings in that group right now. And I would love to invite people to come to RamonaGaley.com and RamonaGaley.com/slash the Alignment Circle with dashes in between. But you can just find it by going to RamonaGaley.com
Mhm.
and look at the alignment circle. But the new group that's starting in January is going to be perfect for someone who just is wants to dabble in this a little bit, because the intense small program isn't for everybody. It's really kind of for more advanced people. And also, this is just kind of fun. So I have, when you go on my homepage, RamonaGaley.com, go all the way to the bottom. There's a little obscure button right there. It says private. Push that button. You're going to be one of the few people that knows about that button. Push that button. That takes you to my private podcast that's never been published anywhere. And you can listen to me talk to lots of different people, just talking about various things, just sort of the way we've been doing here today. And
Mhm.
invariably, the guest that's on asking the questions, we've kind of reversed it. So I have guest hosts come on and ask me questions if, rather than me asking them questions. And we've just have a lot of fun with it. And there on that page, you will get a coupon for a discount on any of the other programs. So private private hyphen podcast is the extension, but just come to ramonagaley.com and come down and push that little button marked private, and you'll be in the private area just for your audience members, and you'll have a discount there too. So yeah, that's a bit. Oh, and
Awesome.
also
Awesome.
my book is on Amazon. You can
Yeah.
find the link on my website, From Lonely to Fearless, and I'd love for you to benefit from that. It takes you from any state. I've used lonely as a kind of a placeholder, kind of like, a lot of times we think we're hungry, but we're really tired, or we're really thirsty, or really, really bored. Lonely is kind of an emotional disconnect with ourselves. And so this book will take you from there, from wherever there is, all the way to fearless. And I think it's very accessible for anybody who has never done this kind of work before, all the way up to people who've done this work a lot and have reached some sort of a plateau. So those are the best ways to benefit from what I have to offer, and I'd love to have you people, your audience people, join me there.
Awesome.
RamonaGaley.com.
RamonaGaley.com. The link
Yeah.
will be in the comment section of this video, as well as in the YouTube description. So you guys get out to the comments, click on the RamonaGaley.com. If you're watching us via YouTube, it will also be, excuse me, in the comment section. But we are going to take a small commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to continue with this great conversation with Miss Ramona Galey. Are you ready to take your business, career, and mindset to the next level? Then it's time to join the conversation on LaQuita's Toolbox. Whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, or someone just looking to level up, this show is packed with powerful insights and real strategies to help you succeed. Imagine yourself here, sharing your story, your expertise, and making a real impact with an audience ready to grow and thrive. With LaQuita's Toolbox, you'll be inspired, empowered, and part of an incredible community that's all about winning. This is your moment. Don't miss the opportunity to be a guest on LaQuita's Toolbox. Unlock new doors, connect with like-minded professionals, and elevate your brand to new heights. Ready to make your mark? Head over to www.laquitamonley.com, LaQuita's Toolbox, and sign up to be a guest today. Awesome. Welcome back to another amazing episode of LaQuita's Toolbox Live. We have been enjoying a great conversation tonight with Miss Ramona Galey. We have talked about the importance of authenticity and how it's a foundation for us individually in our personal life and as well as in our business life. The importance of foundation building up into expression, building up into abundance, ultimately giving us the freedom to be and do the things that God has called us to do and be successful in it. however you have defined success. That's not limited to money, but that means success in every aspect and in every area of your life. And don't forget to watch the comments and to go back to the YouTube description if you're watching us via YouTube so that you can get that link to go to ramonagaley.com. She's got some amazing services, products, and services, especially that private podcast group that she's mentioned. You want to go ahead and click on that private podcast, glean some helpful information from there, and you could get a handy dandy discount. That's always good, a handy dandy discount on if you decide that you want to partner with Miss Ramona in one of her, whether it's her larger group or her smaller intimate group, you will get what you need by connecting with her in that private podcast. Listen, Miss Ramona, we have been having some great conversation, and you know that saying, "Time always flies when you having fun," because
Yes.
it is true. So I got time for like one more question. I'm gonna say one and hold me to it, okay? Because then I don't want to go too much over my time. But
Okay.
we talk and we have a good time talking. So one of my the one question that I think I'm gonna wrap this up with tonight is, what practical steps do you take to cultivate joy in your life, especially when circumstances feel overwhelming?
Oh, that's easy. That's appreciation.
All
I
right.
find something to appreciate. It can be a glass of water. It can be how soft my pillow is. It can be my new favorite shirt. It can be the blue sky. It can be the bird singing outside. I find something to appreciate and I appreciate the heck out of it. And that'll take me faster out of any kind of mood that I may wake up in, or some contrary thing that's happened. Somebody's done something that's seems hurtful or angry or whatever it is. I just start appreciating something. I find something to appreciate about myself or about somebody else or about my surroundings, my possessions. The natural world is always really good. And I just appreciate, appreciate, appreciate. And that is the fastest and easiest and most effective way to reverse any sense of adversity in my mind.
You know what? That is so good. So I haven't been looking at the comments, and I should have been looking at the comments. The comments are going crazy,
Oh, cool.
especially the comments are going crazy. One of
What are they saying?
on YouTube, we have a great interview, the loving the interview, and your response to this, meaning Daryl Wingate says, find something to appreciate. Wow. He's like, wow, that's a key. That's a key. And one of the other statement says, um, he says, tired is one of the words I never tell myself. If you
Good.
sit, if you sat, if you sit and are tired, then if you say that you're tired, then that's exactly what you'll be. Words matter. Absolutely. Our
Absolutely.
matter. So we have to be careful of what we think, because that leads to what we say, and what we
Yep.
say tends to lead to who we are and what we do. So our
Yeah,
words.
and it's not about censorship, is it? It's not about censoring what we're saying. It's about taking it as a clue. If I find myself saying I should do something, or as
Mhm.
your gentleman was saying, I'm tired, I know that fatigue is a symptom of resistance. It's not a
Mm,
symptom of overwork. So
come
when
on.
I'm not in alignment, I'm like driving down the street, down the freeway at 80 miles an hour with the brakes on.
Mhm.
That's resistance. That's friction, right? That's
See, I knew.
that'll make us tired. But when we're doing something that energizes us, that we love doing, that's our purpose, and we're authentic in it, we're not going to get tired. We might take a rest. We certainly will
Mhm.
sleep. We're not ever going to feel tired. And so I'm totally in agreement with your gentleman audience there.
So, see, I knew this happens every time we talk, Miss Ramona, because you talked about resistance. My God, today.
Now, somehow,
You
somewhere, I'm supposed to remind you to only ask one question, but go ahead.
you
I can
were.
stay here all night.
You tell us what resistance is again. I promise we're gonna wrap this up. Like, but I can't let that go. You have to talk. You have to say that again. Resistance
Sure.
is what?
Resistance is when we believe something other than what we want, basically, is what it boils down to. I mean, it comes
Mm,
in all different shapes and sizes, infinite forms, but it's basically our beliefs are working against us. I want
mm,
this thing, but but I can't afford it. But I'll never
mm.
be able to find it. But it's too big or it's too small, or I'm too old or I'm too young, or I'm too tall or I'm too short. But that but there, that's resistance.
That's resistance.
That's resistance. And as we fight with resistance, it's like an isometric exercise. Like, how you really push against and push and push and push. You can really get exhausted in your I mean, it's a huge workout, right? But when we do it vibrationally and we don't know we're doing it, we're not doing it for a purpose. Though, an isometric thing, there's a purpose to that resistance.
Mhm,
But when we're
mhm.
doing it in our lives and we don't even know it, of course we're tired. We're tired before we even get out of bed when we're
Before we
living
even get
like that.
started. So we're
True.
gonna wrap this up. I promise you. I'm like a preacher now. I think I've said it like 3 times. I think I get two more technically before I violate it. So what I hear you saying is oftentimes we think about resistance in our life, it's like an outside something or someone outside of
Mm,
ourselves and our control pushing
mhm,
against us. But
right.
what I hear you saying is oftentimes the resistance that we are feeling, we created it first.
Absolutely. I'm gonna take it one step
Wouldn't
further,
you?
not oftentimes, every time.
Oh my
Every
word.
single time.
Oh my
Every
word.
time.
I guess this is the cliffhanger to end the podcast. Like, wait, wait. Okay, we're gonna talk about because we got a podcast. We're gonna do another one because we're gonna talk about this
Yeah.
resistance.
Okay. Alright. I
We're gonna
love
talk
the
about
that topic.
look. Yes, honey, because we hadn't gotten to that part yet. We've talked about in our previous podcast and today we've talked about many things, but we had not yet broken down and gotten to what resistance is and how we are
Mm,
the creators of the biggest pieces of resistance that we face in our life. Wow.
absolutely.
Um, it's internal. Absolutely. That's in the comment says it's internal.
It's
Yes.
internal. And it's
This
really important that we can detect it. We can feel it. We don't have to analyze it. We don't have to talk about it, but we have to be able to feel it so that we know, because that's our guidance. That's
mm,
just, like the example of driving down the freeway at 80 miles an hour. If your parking brake's on, you're going to
mhm.
smell the smoke, right? You're going to
Yeah,
smell that
it's gonna
burning rubber smell,
sparks
right?
and
That's the
everything.
indicator. Time to pop that brake off there so that you can
Yeah.
just go. So it's
Yeah.
nothing to be ashamed about or to resist the resistance, but we have to know. And the best, only really good way to know is to feel it, not to
Mm.
talk about it, not to talk about it.
My, my, my. Look, LaQuita's Toolbox audience, this conversation is really good, and we could be here all day because I have my questions have questions right now because I really want Miss Ramona to dig into this. But what I can promise you guys is this. One, this really is my last close. And two, check out LaQuita's Toolbox audio because she and I will have this conversation about resistance on my next for my next audio drop for
Absolutely.
the new episode for the podcast. So don't worry, this is not the end of the conversation. It will continue just on a different format. How about that? But Miss Ramona, this has been amazing. The time, can you believe we've been on here almost an hour?
Is it really?
Yes.
I'm very surprised. But you're right. Time flies when you're having fun because this has been
You're
a
having
lot of
fun.
fun. So thank you.
We really have. Oh my goodness. But before we go, before we wrap up, would you like to leave any final closing words with the audience today?
Yes.
Yes,
Start
please.
now.
Mm,
Start now. That's my advice for anybody listening. I don't care what condition you're in right now, what circumstances you're in right now, what your belief system is right now, whether you're high or low or somewhere in between. Start now focusing on appreciation, focusing on your breath, getting into the here and the now, focusing on your own language and noticing when you're, as we say, shitting on yourself or shitting on somebody else, and start now because you can feel
mhm.
better very quickly. but just start
Mhm.
now. Yeah.
Start now. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. We'll talk about that probably with resistance because we didn't get into
Oh,
that. And if
yeah.
we get into that, we gonna be here another hour. So
Yeah.
look, Miss Ramona, thank you so much. You have
Miss
been a
LaQuita, thank
pleasure
you.
having you on the show.
Thank
It's
you,
been
thank
my
you.
pleasure for
Appreciate
sure.
that.
Listen, guys, those of you that are watching live and have been coming in and out of the live, thank you so much for being with us again tonight on LaQuita's Toolbox Live. We appreciate your love, support, um, and how you are engaging in the comments. Thank you again for that. Please continue to hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons, and let's get this episode out to as many people as possible. You will find MissRamonaGaley.com. You will find her website in the comments as well as in the YouTube descriptions for tonight's show. And so stay tuned for her audio drop when we continue this conversation on the audio podcast. Until next time, I am your host, LaQuita Monley. You guys be blessed and have an amazing rest of your evening. Take care. God bless you.